LOS Tidris.
Roger, nice to be in orbit.
Serious Matters is a live comedy show that features stand-up, video, PowerPoints, and interviews with real-life experts. On this podcast, we play the featured interview from each show as these experts help us solve that day's serious matter.
Your next performer, and this is very fun, we do a guest interview every time, and this is fun because she's going to come up, she's going to talk a little bit up here, then we're going to talk to each other, if you can imagine such a thing. She just sold a pilot to IFC that's starring her. She's an author, wrote a great book that I just finished reading. Yeah, I read a book. Suck it, motherfuckers. I really read it, cover to cover. And she works on This American Life. Please give it up for my friend Elna Baker, everybody. Elna.
I don't like cum either. I feel so relieved that we can talk. I didn't know you could say that. Oh my God, it's so gross. Yeah, I don't like blowjobs either. Does anyone else not like blowjobs? No? Just shout. It's okay, babe. I don't like blowjobs that much either, is a sentence my husband regrets saying 3 years ago. I haven't given him a blowjob since. It's like a genie that got their wish answered. The only time, actually, none of that, this is all just, I'm saying this right now, but the only time I've ever given like an amazing blowjob is I was at a party, and I was on a diet, and there were confetti cupcakes, you know, those kind with the little, oh God, those are, and I literally spent the whole party as if it was like a hot guy I was eyeing. I always knew in the vicinity of these cupcakes I was at all times, and I was like, don't eat the cupcakes, but they look so good. So around the end of the party, when I was drunk enough, I took a cupcake, and I went over to a girl I was friends with, and I was like, have you ever heard of a cupcake kiss? And I made her lick it, and then I made out with her. It was the only lesbian experience I've ever had, solely to eat frosting. And my husband saw this, and he knew what I was doing, so he took a cupcake home. And that is the best blowjob I've ever given. All right, dates. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is the craziest thing I've ever done for love. So when I was 26, I was Mormon, a practicing Mormon, and I met another Mormon, and I got engaged, and I moved from New York back to Utah for him. And within a few weeks of me uprooting my life and moving there, everything ended. He broke up with me, and I had to move back to New York. And, you know, I was pretty heartbroken. But then, 3 months later, I went to this church Halloween dance that they have for all the Mormons that live in Manhattan. And he had moved back to New York, and he was there with his new fiancée. And somehow, it was so much worse knowing that it didn't matter if it was me, he just wanted to marry someone. And 3 months later, he found another woman, and they got engaged. And so I left this dance, and I was so just distraught. And I got home, and I remember lying in bed alone with my thoughts, which, like, this was before smartphones. Do you guys remember thinking? Like, just laying in bed and thinking? So I was doing that. And in this moment of sadness, I was like, you know what? It's okay. He wasn't the love of my life, because I knew who the love of my life was. It was a guy who I'd met a few years earlier, and we dated briefly, and our relationship ended because I was Mormon, and he was an atheist, and also because I didn't believe in sex, and as a guy, he didn't believe in that. So we broke up, and I had pined after him for years, and he had moved to Africa, and we hadn't spoken in 3 years. So as if I were sending a drunk text, but I was totally sober, I opened my laptop, and I sent him the following email. Hey, Nick, long time no talk. I know you live in Zambia now. My girlfriends and I are taking a trip to South Africa. Is Zambia close to South Africa? Like, I don't have a map. And, you know, if it is, like, would it be okay if we stopped by and visited? I mean, maybe if you're married now or have a girlfriend or a live-in maid, that would be weird. But if not, I would love to see you. And I sent it. And I woke up the next morning, and I had a response from him that was like, yeah, Zambia is very close to South Africa. If you're over here, I would love to see you. I can host you and your 2 girlfriends. And that's when I was like, holy shit. First of all, it was all a lie. I was not going to Africa, nor did I have 2 female friends that were willing to go with me. But I had suddenly permission. So I called every girl I'd ever met, and I was like, will you come to Africa with me to win back this boy? And in my head, here's what I was thinking. I think the guy was sort of actually just an excuse. I kind of wanted to not be Mormon, partly because it's an insane religion. And I knew that my whole life, but I wouldn't allow myself to face that truth. So instead, I thought, if I'll leave for love. If this guy loves me, then maybe I'll leave Mormonism and it'll be worth it for him. And so I managed to recruit 2 girls, and we flew to Africa to go see this guy. And before we went to see him, he suggested we go to this place called Zanzibar. And so we took a 2-day trip to Zanzibar. And while I was there, I was already overthinking. I was like, okay, how am I gonna win him back? If I do win him back, like, will I have sex with him? And I was so worried because I'd never done anything. Like, the most I'd done was kissing at this point in my life. And so I brought this up to this woman we met in Zanzibar, and she said, in Zanzibar, before women get married, there's a sex ritual that this 103-year-old woman named Biki Duty will teach you. And I was like, I gotta meet Biki Duty. So the next day, we're in this hut in the middle of a village with a 103-year-old woman. Have you ever seen someone that old? They look like tiny dinosaurs. And Biki Dude said, normally I teach you how to have sex with a stick and a band of drummers. But, you didn't prepare that in advance, so instead I'll just answer your question. If you have one question for me, ask it. And I thought that I would ask something really sexual, but in this moment I just asked her, I only want to be married once, and how do you know if you've met the right person? Such a tame question. And she said, through a translator, she said, you may have no money, you may live in desperation, and he may beat you, but if you do it with a smile on your face, this is the right man. So I was like, oh, check your privilege. So the next day, we fly to Zambia, and Nick picks us up, and he invited us to some work party. So I go to this party with him, and I've flown all the way to Africa for him, and I arrive, and I do that thing where you pretend like you don't care. It was like, oh, hey, what's going on? And the whole party, I just spent ignoring him. Didn't talk to him the whole party. And then we went back to his place, and it's just a studio. So there was a twin bed, a double bed, and he slept on the floor. So he gets on the floor to go to sleep. My girlfriend's getting this bed. I get in the twin bed. Lights go off. Everyone's falling asleep. And I'm lying in bed, and I'm like, oh, God, okay. I'm only here for 10 days. I have to, obviously, declare my love first, win him back. Then we have only 10 days to really start this relationship. So I'm like, do it now. So I crawl down onto the floor, and I tap his shoulder, and I'm like, hey, are you awake? And he's waking up, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, how are you? And we started talking. I was like, I feel like we didn't really check in, and I'd like to catch up. And so he's like, oh, tells me what's new with him, and he was like, what's new with you? And I was like, not much, but I'm kind of not Mormon anymore. So I know that was a big deal before, and well, I'm not. So I'm not being. And he's like, wow, that was huge. That was a huge part of your identity. How long have you not been Mormon? And I couldn't say since 30 seconds ago when I told you that. So instead, I used the legitimate number. I said, 3 months. And he was like, wow, so what have you done? Have you been drinking? I was like, no. He was like, have you tried drugs or anything? And I was like, no. He's like, well, what about sex? Have you had sex? And I knew that if I said yes, then that would be the right answer. But then I also felt like, well, if I say yes, and we do have sex, then he won't know that it would be my first time. That would be weird. So I said, no, I haven't had sex, but I've like done basically everything else, like everything. Like I do it all the time, except blowjobs. And so he was like, okay. And then I kissed him, and we started kissing, and we're making out, and it started to get like, and this was somebody who like he liked me. I was just throwing myself on him, and we're kissing. And all of a sudden he stops me and he's like, look, usually I'm pretty cavalier about sexual stuff, like, but I don't know, I kind of feel like you're still Mormon. And I, like in this moment, like him calling my bluff, I was like, oh, whatever I gotta do. So I took my hand and I just put it down his pants and I grabbed onto his penis, which I'd never done. I'd never done anything like that. But I was like, would a Mormon be holding a penis? And then we kept kissing, but I'd never touched a penis before, so I didn't know what to do. So I just sort of rested my hand on it like an armrest, and I was making out with him and not moving my hand, and making out with him and not moving my hand. And after about like 5 minutes of this, I knew he was thinking, what is she doing? And I was thinking, I got to do something. And he just, he looked at me and he was like, is this okay? And I said, honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he was like, apparently that's the worst thing you can say to a man. His penis was deflated. And I was like, whoa, did I break it? What's happening? And he took my hand out of his pants and he was like, look, this is gonna sound mean, but my friend's brother, my friend had a younger sister. She was in middle school. And when I was in high school, she wanted to learn about how to have sex. And she was like, I remember her in like Rainbow Bright pajamas and braces. And I was like, someday some guy will be that guy for you, but I can't do that. And that's sort of how I feel about this. So you need to go back to bed. And I remember saying like, oh. But I wasn't a little girl. I was 28 at that time, or 27. I was 27. And I remember crawling back up into bed and lying there and staring up at the ceiling and having to think again. And yeah, just like, how did I get here? And also, I have to spend the next 10 days in Africa with this person. And the funny thing is, though, I left Mormonism shortly after that. And so sometimes you have to go for it and try all the way before you know what you really want. Thank you.
Elna Baker, everybody! There's a lot of fun stuff there. Man, someone named Beaky Duty knows how to work a dick, though. Jeez. Beaky Duty. Mara, have you ever been engaged to someone named Beaky Duty? Twice. Twice. 2 of the 7 were Beaky Duty. Damn, how, I'll tell you what, you talk about how, it's like, oh, I had to run, I had to then go to Africa. I'll tell you what, it's a thirsty move on that guy's part, though, being like, yeah, I'll tell you what African countries are close to each other. I feel like he wanted it a little bit, right?
Yeah, no. I feel like it could have been good.
Yeah, exactly.
There was potential.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun because that story, or parts of that story, I think, because I heard Elna, I was at a wedding that Elna was at, and you were called up.
Oh, yeah, I gave a toast about this.
Yes, and you did not know you had to give a toast.
Yes.
It was the best toast I've ever seen, which sounds like I'm doing a horrific Trump impression, basically. It was the best toast. Did you guys like it? I worked on the accent. But it was the greatest toast, and I was telling my youngest brother, who, I forget who, I think Tyler was talking about the NPR faces in the crowd. My youngest brother, Patrick, the one who called 911 on my mom, that he super NPR face. And I started describing the story, and he and his fiance are both like, we know that story. We know who Elna is, which is super fun. But
that toast, so I found out right before I had to go up and give a toast, and I worked for This American Life for 6 years shaping stories, and
Yeah.
I literally wrote on a napkin, I was like, okay, start in the action, beginning, middle, end.
yeah, yeah, come bring it back around, and it was great because there was another guy who had to give a speech who's like a somewhat major TV personality, and Elna fucking smoked him. She smoked him. It was beautiful. It's not a competition, but for me it was. So it was great. But so when was your first date? Would you say your first date?
As an
Ever.
adult.
Or not even as an adult, like school.
Oh,
too.
I didn't date until I was older.
Like college or?
I think the first, I lost a lot of weight when I was in my 23.
Right.
So I lost like 120 pounds when I was 23. And before that, I never really had I never went on a date.
Yeah.
So I'm a late bloomer by every
Sure.
possible aspect.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then pretty good bloom. You got a book.
Yeah.
Tell me the title of the book.
It's a very long title. The New York Regional Mormon Singles Halloween Dance. But it's funny. So sometimes I'm blushing. I blush on stage sometimes.
I blush a lot too.
But
I'm a
especially
red-faced
if I
person.
talk about sex, it's like a weird Mormon, like the Mormon switch in me is like, ugh, stop what you're doing. Satan doesn't want this.
I also feel like I was raised Catholic, but your parents were like they really were into
My dad was
Mormon.
like was the bishop, yeah.
Oh fuck, yeah. That's
Which was weird because if you do anything sexual as a Mormon, you have to go confess to your bishop.
We're supposed to do that as Catholics too, but
But this is weirder because
They
Catholics,
like it
there's
too
like
much?
a curtain.
Yeah.
This, like, it's just you across. It's like seeing your high school guidance
you
counselor.
just shake hands and be like, I laid it like an armrest, and that's
Yeah, and they ask follow-up questions. Like I remember the first time I got.
don't be too into it.
Yeah, they're like, if you like, let's say you got your boobs touched, right? Then you go tell the bishop.
Let's say.
I got my boobs touched. I'm really sorry. And the bishop has to then ask, like, well, was it under the bra or over the bra? And you're like, it was under the bra.
That's a
well,
thirsty bishop.
Were your nipples stimulated? It's funny. I did this for years. I would go to the bishop and talk about anything sexual.
How frequently do you do
Anytime
this?
you do anything sexual, you have to go confess to the bishop. And I just kept over and over. I would do this, and
Because
and-
you got game, that's why.
Yeah,
Sorry,
'cause I got
Bishop.
game.
Back again, bitch. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and it was super invasive, but also you had to do this. It was like told to you, and
Yeah.
it's so funny to look back now as a non-Mormon woman who also just thinks that this is like insane slut shaming, and
Yeah.
I can't believe I thought, oh, this is totally normal. I'm so sorry. Yes, I'll tell you anything about my body, anything I've done.
But you tie that into like I'm being nice. Like I think you tie that in. You have to. I feel like that's a Catholic thing too, where it's like once you tell them, that's me being a good person.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. You have, and
Yeah.
you're in your heart. You're like, unless I say this, I'll never be forgiven. So yes,
Right.
I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, shit. But sorry, I went to Africa. It's a great thing to apologize for. I have a quick game to play. Then we have a closing comedian here tonight. Okay, Halloween costumes. Elna mentioned the title. Slide. We're going to grade Halloween costumes to be graded on an estimated level of success at the New York Regional Mormon Singles Halloween Dance, which is also the title of a book written by Elna Baker, available on Amazon.com. I guess you knew that. So we're going to look at you and just bonus round, fast style, tell us how these costumes would do at the New York Regional Mormon Singles Halloween Dance. Slide. We're going to start off with straight up Mormons. Does anyone show up dressing like the classic Mormons?
No, you would never do
That'd
that.
be super hack, right?
Yeah, because there's also literally missionaries that would be there.
They're
so-
just that. They wouldn't change. and
Yeah,
that
they
would be
wouldn't
that.
change.
Slide. How about this guy? His sign says gingerbread man, and he is that.
I like it. I think it's pretty. I like a costume that you have to think about and piece because it looks like.
Think about for like a second.
Because you're like hot dogs.
Yeah.
Oh no, not hot dogs.
Anytime people think you might be hot dogs, but you're not, you're winning. Next, slide.
Oh, what were you?
That's me as a trash can.
You look like a crumpled up, like when runners get blankets.
So very good.
And
Next,
you fell
slide.
on something.
Now this I just put in because I don't understand what it means. What's happening here?
Okay, there's a cat that way and a dog that. Oh wait. This is stupid.
Correct. Slide.
Oh, I like this.
This is. You know what this is.
Serial killers.
And the crowd goes wild. Slide.
Black Jesus.
How would that do at the Mormon singles dance?
People would be very confused. No, our religion is racist. What are you doing here?
Slide. I am Hall and Oates. I'll tell you that.
You just look like you're killing it.
Yeah, thank you. And bonus points. This is Brock as one of the ladies from League of Their Own.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Brock, everybody in the corner.
You get a drink ticket for that.
Yeah, that is. He's the guy who won the drink ticket before. All right, here we go. Slide.
Clark Kent, Superman? No, that's too obvious.
Too simple.
Yeah.
All right, slide.
Oh. At the Mormon dance? No.
What if they weren't kissing right now?
I don't know.
That's fair. Tough but fair. Slide.
Oh, yes. They love
Actual Mitt Romney is going to win that.
100%.
Elna, tell people where they can find you. Where can people find more Elna Baker?
You can just Google my name.
That's very
Do that.
difficult, I know, but if you guys can work it out. The book's great. I finished reading it. Tell me the title one more time.
The New York Regional Mormon Singles Halloween Dance.
It's great. It's got the story you heard and a lot of other stories. Elna Baker, everybody.
Live sound and recording by Gary O'Keefe and produced by Good Orbit.
Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-Dress. Roger, nice to be in orbit.
Serious Matters happens the first Thursday of every month at Union Hall in Brooklyn. Find us on Facebook for upcoming show dates and lineups, or check out our website at seriousmatters.info to get on the mailing list.